Hi everyone, this is Kat of Catalyst Holistic Life Coaching, bringing your life in alignment with you. I'm here today to do your weekly forecast reading for this week of July 26th through August 1st. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you are a regular here, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. These readings are just a kind of general card reading, as well as taking a look at the astrology and some of the planetary shifts that are going on. Not so much the aspects, but what the energy might start to feel like we're shifting into. So this is just very general. It's kind of the energy that you can just take and work with as you may. It may not be personally affecting you that much this week, but it is just something that is going to be in the air. So we work through doing our tarot/oracle reading, and then we take a look at our planetary shifts this week. So let's get into it. So we actually had 3 decks come out this week that wanted to be worked with. So we'll start with the tarot. So this week's tarot is the Shadowscapes Tarot. It's actually the first tarot deck I ever got from a friend of mine, and I just love the imagery. It's very fairy-like and ethereal. So our first card that we have is the Justice card. Justice also represents the sign of Libra. So if you are a Libra or have a lot of Libra in your chart, this week could really be calling your attention. But justice really has to do with the kind of karmic balance. So when we're making decisions, whether in this life or past lives, those decisions kind of ripple out into the world and alter our reality based on how we make those decisions. And so this can also kind of represent the karmic cycles. So you may be faced with certain karmic cycles that may be coming into your life, or you just might have a sort of decision. You could be looking at a sort of crossroads that is really requiring your thoughtfulness and fairness, because justice really also has to do with fairness as well. So actively choosing, like, how are you going to kind of balance those scales this week? Are you choosing something really transformative, because there is a lot of butterfly imagery going on here, or are we choosing to fall into old patterns? So I feel like this is asking us with whatever decisions we're making this week to really actually look at it from a wider angle rather than taking it in so personally and trying to just put so much of the I into it. Now we're kind of looking at the bigger picture of like, okay, how is this really going to affect everything in my life right now? So the next card we have is the Chariot. So the Chariot is also represented by the sign of Cancer. So if you're a Cancer, maybe this message is really coming through for you this week. So the Chariot is this forward movement. It is this strong, like, powerful force. You can see the rider is kind of just making waves, like parting the seas, like nothing is standing in her way. And so there is this kind of assuredness that is needed, like kind of standing strong in your knowing and being kind of riding the currents of everything. So there could be some turmoil that is kind of coming from whatever this decision is, because if it's about fairness and like taking everything in, it's not really just about you, but you are needing to like kind of blaze this trail for yourself at the same time and be strong in your truth. But we can't really make these empowered decisions if we kind of act out of a place that isn't really in our integrity and we're not really being fair, because we might start to question and doubt and not really make the best decisions. So this isn't necessarily about like you have to please everyone, or you have to be making decisions that also aren't in your own best interest, but you need to be really, really sure and confident and centered in yourself to know that this is the right decision moving forward. And that if there are consequences, if there are certain things that might happen because of it, you're willing to kind of face that head on as well. Like, even if it seems like maybe dark and stormy seas, and like there might be some challenges along the way, you're prepared and willing to kind of face that. The last card we have for that is the King of Cups in the reverse. So especially really for water signs, maybe you are really getting affected this week by this reading. But the King of Cups normally has to do with someone who really does kind of hold this space of, they're very open emotionally. They're able to have this sort of patience and take everything in and be understanding of all the different types of emotions that people can have. But with them in the reverse, this can really be, someone who is not really sitting well with their emotions, or they're kind of just letting their emotions get the best of them. And it's kind of clouding their judgment as well. And they're, it's kind of that the stormy seas is kind of what I keep seeing. And, this can be from just past experience. This can just be, whether we're maybe letting stuff come up from below the surface. So if something is like really being triggered, if there's like really some sort of karmic cycle that is coming up and you're feeling really, really triggered this week, this is where it's kind of asking you to take a bigger look at what those are trying to teach you or trying to bring up, because it's either maybe it's just been pushed under the rug for too long, or there just maybe something you haven't dealt with and there's just a situation that's kind of bringing it to the surface. And it is kind of making you also question your own strength and your own resolve about moving forward with whatever path you're kind of deciding to take this week. So if it is something that is just like coming up from the depths and is kind of this sort of shadow emotional self that maybe we kind of react more instead of respond, this is really a good week to take that step back and really try to be not just fair with other people, but also fair with yourself. This is with the word saying justice, like justice is being served, it just means everything is kind of balancing out. So whether it was a past life experience or just something in your childhood, maybe not even that far back, something is trying to kind of balance out the scales in your life. But in order to do that, in order to find that balance, we have to learn to kind of calm the dark sea and calm these really hard emotions that are coming to the surface. Because I really see this kind of like murky depth coming up of just maybe this stuff that we just don't really like about our emotions or ourselves. Maybe you're someone who doesn't deal with emotions very well, but when it comes to dealing with our day-to-day lives, they are really, really important, because the King of Cups is this really amazing power of just patience and loving, and can be very nurturing in its own way, like a nurturing masculine, which we need just as much as a nurturing feminine. So if you're not someone who has been dealing with emotions very well, or you are not a super emotional person and you're kind of wondering what's happening, just pay attention to what is coming to the surface. Start to look at it in that broader perspective. Okay. So moving into clarification, we have a couple oracle decks. The first one that came out is Healing with the Fairies. This was also another one of my first oracle decks. We're kind of going old school this week, so I'm really excited about it. So the first card is, yeah, new opportunity. Like the universe is calling, like something is coming to the surface and is going to be bringing you forward to really see if you're ready to kind of take that next step in your evolution. And it is this opportunity to, maybe if you've been just feeling imbalanced in your life, or there are things that you maybe wish you could have done differently, or now you have a better perspective of how you really want to be in this life, you have this chance to take that in stride with everything that you've learned. And how are you going to shift this and make this something really beneficial for your growth? Because then the next card we have is Moving Forward Fearlessly. So yeah, this is stepping into unknown territory, like, again, that kind of shadow aspect. But this is really showing up with that Chariot energy of, like, when you really know in yourself, like, what you're ready to progress towards or how you want to do things differently, you have this experience of, no, I know what I don't want. I know what I do want. Maybe I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to try and go for it. I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to take it fearlessly in stride, because that's really all the best we can do. We maybe won't have all of the answers. This doesn't necessarily mean we need to focus so much on making the right or wrong decision, but just the fair decision and what's going to be most empowering for yourself and those around you. Okay. All right. So then coming into our last little group of cards is the Animal Medicine deck. This is kind of more like traditional Native American medicine. Really, really like these cards. So the first card we have is Bat in contrary position. So Bat has to do with rebirth. And when they're in the contrary, you know, they're already hanging in this position up on the, you know, cave walls and stuff. So it isn't a position that's necessarily uncomfortable, but it is just kind of this kind of question, like, are you ready for this? It's waiting and kind of looking for, again, that opportunity, but are you kind of resisting that change? Are you kind of wanting to stay hidden in that shadow stuff, or are you ready to kind of go out into the dark, maybe even if you can't see, and just trust your own ability to take that on and experience a shift in your life? Because for some of you, this could really be, yeah, something that you've just been struggling with for a while, and you're kind of like, why has this not left my system yet? Or I thought I already dealt with this. And it could be the reason, like, why certain things just haven't, like, panned out in your life just yet. Or maybe you've been wanting to make this progress and this thing just comes up and you're like, why does this matter? Like, why is this, what does this have to do with anything? And you might be surprised the more you explore into it, whatever you're trying to progress towards right now is needing this to be cleared out. So rebirth, you know, is taking on these previous experiences and kind of molding it into something new. But birth is always a painful process. There's always something that has to be left behind. But we get these rebirth chances in so many different parts of our lives, and it can be a really empowering thing. So the next animal we have is Buffalo Spirit of Prayer and Abundance. So really looking towards where you can kind of maybe call on and ask for help. where maybe you are needing to look at this bigger picture, you can kind of see, okay, if I really want this to happen, how do I make this how do I make this manifest in the best way possible? Because whenever we have prayer or intention, we never want it to be something that is doing harm towards anyone else or isn't for the benefit of everyone. Even though we may be trying to shift for ourselves, it shouldn't be, only thought of as just a self-serving thing. It's how am I benefiting everyone around me? So really maybe connecting with your guides this week, maybe spending more time in meditation or prayer or whatever that looks like for you in your own practice, and calling on that abundance, and trusting that that abundance is around you, and always available to you when you need it. It's only, it's an invitation to kind of ask for that and being willing to receive. Okay, so then the next card we have is Owl Spirit, which has to do with deception. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean there is deception going on in your life right now, but that Owl Spirit can really be used to kind of see it through this shadowy muck, to see through what we've kind of clouded our lives with, whether it be emotional or mental processes. This is a chance to kind of see through and cut through the shadows, because owl is the only bird of prey that can actually see at night. And it's this really amazing ability to actually be able to have clarity and to kind of see through tricks and anything that is kind of presented. So again, it's that taking a step back and looking at everything with fairness. So the deception could be, yourself, how you're perceiving things. Are you perceiving this as something that is happening against you instead of for you? Are you perceiving others as unfair? Are you projecting onto others that they may be, attacking you or whatever, instead of actually really kind of taking a step back, not getting involved in the situation as much personally, and just looking at it through both angles? Because with Justice card, the sign of Libra, like Libra does really look at both sides. Libra is one of those signs that is just like willing to hear one side and then the other. It can also make a tendency towards being argumentative. And that's why we want to actually get this clearer picture of knowing where we stand and knowing the answer for ourselves, instead of letting others kind of make that decision for us. Okay, and then our last animal we have is Grouse Spirit in the contrary. So grouse has to do with the spiral, or kind of the dance of life, kind of moving in this constant circle. And with it in the contrary, this is kind of a sort of imbalance of being maybe a little bit out of step with the kind of trajectory that the spiral makes. So again, that kind of self-deprecating, self-illusion that is kind of making us maybe feel separate from everything that is going on around us, instead of that this is all a part of the plan. This is all a part of what's making us shift and change in that direct path that we were set out to do from the get-go, and how we actually are really supported, and how we are divinely guided to move along this path. And sometimes it just requires us to get back into our own rhythm. So again, that sort of prayer and abundance of reconnecting to that part of yourself, reconnecting maybe to your spiritual self or just your higher self, whatever sort of practice you have. This is a chance to kind of get back into that step that maybe you're feeling a little bit out of place with. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the astrology this week. We've just got a couple planets making some shifts. So whenever planets are shifting, it can kind of feel chaotic within the week itself because everything's changing energy. So we're just kind of like, why does everything seem so out of place? And it's because we are making change maybe very subtly. So yesterday we had Mercury, our planet of communication, expression, and perception sometimes as well, move into the sign and constellation of Leo, the lion, as well as the sign of kind of play, and it is a fire sign, so it's a little bit more fun-loving. So this could be a really social placement compared to Cancer, where we might have felt a little reclusive or kind of gone through the motions. This can definitely have us being more expressive, but again, we want to look at kind of being careful with, because it is a fire sign, Leo is also really this kind of I-based sign, like really likes to focus on the I and my and ego and that sort of thing. But they also have this flip side of really looking out for the underdog and being kind of the rescuer. So it is kind of wanting to watch that energy of, even though we're starting to move into being more expressive, we again kind of want to maintain that sense of fairness as well, understanding that other people are other people and they may not have the same views as us, and we don't need to spend that much energy trying to exert ourselves out onto people. And so Leo is represented by the card of strength. So you can see this kind of, again, like shadow and light kind of blending together, because Leo is ruled by the sun. So it is this, really outward, expressive energy. It is this really potent, like just all-seeing thing. But, there is always like that shadow side to it of just like being too much, or trying to exert our will onto others, or with Mercury, more so our ideas onto others. And when we're looking at that justice energy, like that's not what's considered fair. That's not truly being fair. So as we're moving through this transit, you're really being asked to kind of take a look at yes, authentically expressing yourself, and maybe you're actually starting to, if that's not something you normally do, maybe you're more nervous to express yourself, or maybe you find it difficult to really communicate with other people or connect in that way. That strength could be showing up to kind of ease you into more honest expression, like not being afraid to speak your mind, or say what it is that you really want, because that's also just as fair. Everybody deserves everything that they want, but again, it's not about controlling or imposing on other people. It's not always about serving ourselves, but we do also have to have our needs met. Okay, so then moving into this weekend, we have Mars, our planet of drive and action and our big passions, what we like really want to do and make happen, is moving into the earth sign of Virgo. So Virgo is this sign of gentleness and service and work, what our workplace is, and also because it is ruled by Mercury, so we have this kind of strong Mercury energy going on. This is also still a really analytical sign, but from a much more grounded perspective. So Virgo is the sign of the hermit. And so while the hermit energy is really good to work with, it can go into that extreme, because sometimes we'll be, so overly critical or so focused on ourselves and what we think is right and what we think should be happening, that we might again come to this imbalance of kind of isolating ourselves in certain ways. And other people don't always want to be around that energy. And especially with Mars, like Mars is really the do. So if you feel that kind of energy of like, I need to like change people, or I need to do this or I need to do that, just kind of nitpicking at every little thing, again, like reflect on stepping back and like, what are you trying to control so much? What is this need and drive to just make everything into your own image? It's okay to do that within your own life, but not in such a controlling way that is affecting others. Because in this sign, like this can be really good in actually making that discernment of where you're not really wanting to kind of take on things that are no longer serving you anymore. If you really use this in a positive way, you can really start to kind of get things done in your life. You can start to say, all right, I've really looked at this. Whoops, sorry. Dropping the cards everywhere. I really know what direction I'm ready to move in, and I'm not going to falter from this choice. And we just get more clear. We're able to kind of decipher and be more critical of ourselves, but we want to make sure that we're doing this in a positive way and not getting back into that sort of negative depth of ourselves, because this is this new opportunity coming in. There is this shifting, and so we can really actually start to look at it from a perspective of like, okay, how has this not been working? How am I not serving myself? And how am I maybe not being my best version of myself? Because that's the more important question, so that we are able to actually serve and be of service to humanity. It's not always just about us, it's how we're influencing the world. We always, as kids, really dreamed of like how we wanted to be this influence onto the world, whether it was something, big or small or whatever. We know how we want to make our mark. And so this Hermit energy, this Virgo and Mars, is saying really cultivate that light, really do that inner work, spend time with that light and that shadow as well, knowing and discerning what's really you, what's not you, what's been imposed on you, ideals and ideas. And then how do we change and make that better? How do we change and get more discerning in our lives? Okay. So overall energy is, I think really like perspective and insight. While we could feel this kind of push-pull of needing to take action and needing to take a step back, it's really about like taking that time to notice when you're starting to have reaction instead of response. And I really see for this week us being able to kind of really look at things and be like, okay, this is initially what I would do. I maybe don't want to do that right now. How can I do that differently? So taking your time with insight and perception and playing around with how your mind really works and how you really see the world right now. Okay. All right, that is everything I have for you this week. I hope that is helpful in whatever you are working with. If you really liked it, please share, comment, subscribe. I love to know your stories and your experiences. And also I have links below to a bunch of new affiliate companies that I am beginning to work with for all things holistic medicine, including essential oils and Ayurveda, as well as bulk herbs and natural products. So more on that coming soon. But If you also just really liked the reading, I have Cash App and tip links below. So again, any energy exchange is appreciated. So thank you so much for tuning in, and hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.